The transport ship shook as it entered the docking bay of Station Orion 7. Park Menu pressed his face against the small window and watched the massive space station grow larger. Lights blinked across its surface like 1,000 eyes watching him arrive. His heart beat fast in his chest. He was the first human student to ever attend the Galactic Unity Academy. He was also completely alone. The door of the ship opened with a hiss. Minu grabbed his bag and stepped out into the wide corridor. The air smelled different here. It was clean but strange, like metal and flowers mixed together. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past him. Some had scales, some had feathers, some looked like nothing he had ever seen before. Most of them did not even look at him. But the ones who did had strange expressions on their faces. They looked at him like he was something small and unimportant. A floating robot appeared in front of him. It spoke in a flat voice. "Human Student Park Menu, welcome to Galactic Unity Academy. Please follow the guide light to your room." A small blue light appeared in the air and began moving down the corridor. Minu followed it. As he walked, he heard whispers behind him. He could not understand the alien languages, but he understood the tone. They were laughing at him. His room was small but comfortable. It had a bed, a desk, and a window that showed the stars outside. Minu sat on the bed and took a deep breath. He knew this would be hard. Earth had only joined the Galactic Confederation 2 years ago. To most alien species, humans were newcomers. They were primitive. They were weak. They had no claws, no fangs, no scales, no telepathy. They were just soft pink creatures from a small blue planet. But Minu had wanted this. He had studied hard to win the exchange student position. He wanted to prove that humans deserved their place among the stars. He just did not know how hard that would be. The next morning, Minu walked into his first class. The room was large and filled with students from many different species. He saw the first. They were tall, insect-like creatures with hard shells and sharp mandibles that clicked when they talked. Their eyes had many parts, like the eyes of flies on Earth, but much larger and much more frightening. Near them sat They were huge reptilian beings with thick scales and powerful tails. Their teeth were sharp and their eyes were cold. In the corner sat some. They were beautiful in a strange way. They had feathers instead of hair and their skin was pale blue. They could read minds, or so Minu had heard. They did not speak much. They just watched everything with their large silver eyes. Minu found an empty seat near the back of the room. As he sat down, the students around him moved away. They did not want to sit near the human. He pretended not to notice. The teacher They were an amphibian species with smooth blue skin and large dark eyes. They were known for being calm and wise. This teacher looked at Minu with something like kindness, but also with curiosity. "Class," the teacher said, "we have a new student today. This is Park Minu from Earth. He is the first human to attend our academy. Please make him feel welcome." No one said anything. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. Then a voice broke it. "So this is a human." The speaker was sitting in the front row. He was larger than the others and his shell was a deep red color. His mandibles clicked loudly as he spoke. "I expected something more impressive." Some students laughed. Minu felt his face grow hot, but he said nothing. "My name is," the continued. He stood up and turned to face Minu. "I am the leader of the senior class. Tell me, human, what makes your species special? What do you bring to this academy?" Minu thought for a moment. "We are good at learning," he said, "and we never give up." More laughter filled the room, made a sound that might have been a smile if he had lips. "Learning, not giving up. Those are the words of prey, not predators. Look at you. No claws, no armor, no venom. Your species survived on your planet by accident." "We survived because we worked together," Minu said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking under his desk. Walked closer. His shadow fell over Minu like a dark cloud. "Together, your planet has been killing itself with wars and pollution for centuries. We have watched your species from afar. You are barely civilized. The Confederation made a mistake letting you join." The teacher spoke up. "That is enough. Return to your seat." clicked his mandibles one more time, then walked back to his seat. But his eyes never left Minyu. This was not over. After class, Minyu walked alone through the corridors. He did not know where he was going. He just needed to walk. He needed to think. A soft voice stopped him. "You should not let bother you." Minyu turned. A girl stood behind him. She was smaller than the teacher and younger. Her skin was a lighter shade of blue and her eyes were gentle. "I am Lyra," she said. "I know what it feels like to be seen as lesser. They are not respected by the stronger species either. They think we are weak because we prefer peace over war." Minyu nodded slowly. "Thank you, I am Minyu." "I know," Lyra said with a small smile. "Everyone knows who you are, the human." They walked together for a while. Lyra showed Minyu the different parts of the station. The gardens where plants from 100 worlds grew. The training halls where students practiced combat. The great library that held knowledge from across the galaxy. "Pet Day is coming soon," Lyra said as they walked. "It is a big tradition here. Students bring their companion creatures from their home planets. It is supposed to show the bond between species and their animals. But really, it is just another way for students like to show off." Minyu smiled. "Pet Day." "Yes, we'll bring his Skarn beetle. It is a terrible creature, big as a ground vehicle with pincers that can cut through metal. He uses it to scare everyone." Lyra paused. "What about humans? Do you have companion creatures on Earth?" Minyu thought about home. He thought about the warm fur and the wagging tail that greeted him every morning. He thought about the loyal eyes that never judged him, never laughed at him, never looked at him like he was weak. "Yes," he said quietly, "we do." Lyra looked at him with curiosity. "What kind?" Minyu just smiled. "You will see." That night Minyu made a video call to Earth. His younger sister Park answered. Behind her, something large moved in the shadows. "How is he?" Minyu asked. Grinned. "He misses you. He sleeps on your bed every night and waits by the door every morning." "Tell him I miss him too," Minyu said. "And tell him to get ready. I am bringing him here for Pet Day." Laughed. "They have no idea what is coming, do they?" The days passed slowly for Minyu at the academy. Every morning he woke up and went to class. Every day he faced the same cold stares and cruel whispers. The other students did not hurt him physically. That was against the rules, but words could hurt just as much, and they used plenty of those. Was the worst. The big seemed to enjoy making Minyu feel small. In combat training class, would demonstrate fighting moves and always point out how useless they would be for a soft creature like the human. In science class, would ask questions about Earth just to laugh at the answers. How could a species survive without natural weapons? How could humans be so fragile and still call themselves intelligent? Minyu stayed quiet most of the time. He did his work. He studied hard. He tried to ignore the mockery, but inside he was counting the days until Pet Day. The whole academy was excited about the event. It was one of the biggest traditions of the year. Students talked about nothing else. They bragged about their companion creatures. They argued about whose pet was the strongest, the fastest, the most dangerous. Minyu learned a lot by listening. The bonded with insects and arthropods. These creatures were often large and deadly, with hard shells and sharp parts that could cut or crush. The preferred reptiles and amphibians. They liked creatures that could breathe fire or spit venom. They had birds and flying creatures. These animals were beautiful and could often communicate through telepathy with their owners. But no one asked Minyu about his pet. They assumed humans had nothing impressive to offer. They assumed Earth animals were boring and weak, just like the humans themselves. One afternoon, Minyu was eating lunch alone in the food hall when walked over with his group of friends. Was there. He was with dark green scales and yellow eyes. He was not as cruel as, but he followed the everywhere and laughed at all his jokes. "Human," said loudly so everyone could hear. "I heard you requested special transport clearance for Pet Day. Is this true?" Minyu looked up from his food. Yes. Made his clicking laugh sound. Special transport, for what? A small furry thing that squeaks, a creature with a shell that moves slower than time itself. The students nearby laughed, slapped his tail against the floor in amusement. I heard humans keep tiny fish in glass boxes, another student called out. Maybe he will bring a fish. More laughter filled the hall. Minyu did not react. He just took another bite of his food and chewed slowly. This made angry. The wanted a reaction. He wanted Minyu to feel ashamed. What is wrong, human? Leaned closer. His mandibles clicked right next to Minyu's ear. Are you too stupid to understand when you are being insulted, or are you just too weak to respond? Minyu swallowed his food and looked directly into his compound eyes. I understand perfectly, he said. I am just not worried. Not worried, pulled back in surprise. Why not? Minyu smiled. Because Pet Day will answer all your questions. You will see what humans bring to the table, or rather, what walks beside us. Stared at him for a long moment. Then he laughed again, but this time there was something uncertain in the sound. We will see, human, we will see. That night Minyu called again. She answered quickly, and her face was bright with excitement. The transport is ready, she said. He leaves tomorrow morning. He will arrive at the station 2 days before Pet Day. How is he handling the preparations? Minyu asked. Moved her camera to show what was behind her. There, lying on the floor with his head on his paws, he was a Korean dog with thick cream-white fur and intelligent amber eyes. His ears perked up when he heard Minyu's voice through the speaker. He knows something is happening, said. He has been extra alert all week. I think he can sense that he is going to see you soon. Minyu felt warmth spread through his chest. He had raised from a puppy. They had grown up together. When Minyu was sad, was there. When Minyu was scared, was there. The dog had never left his side until Minyu had to leave Earth for the academy. Hey boy, Minyu said softly, I miss you. His tail wagged. He lifted his head and made a soft whining sound, as if he was trying to answer. The transport crew was confused by your requirements, said, moving the camera back to her face. They asked why a companion animal needs reinforced crating and special atmosphere controls. I told them it was standard procedure for Earth canines. Minyu laughed. What did they say? They did not believe me. They think we are hiding something dangerous. Grinned. I guess they are not completely wrong. The next 2 days were the longest of Minyu's life. He went to class. He did his work. He ignored the jokes and the laughter, but his mind was always somewhere else. He was thinking about the transport ship flying through space. He was thinking about in his crate, probably confused but trusting that his human would be waiting for him. The mockery got worse as Pet Day approached. Students started bringing pictures and videos of their companion creatures to show off. Played a recording of his Skarn beetle crushing a metal bar with its pincers. The whole class watched in fear and amazement. The beetle was terrifying. It was black and shiny, with legs like spears and mandibles that could bite through steel. This is what a real companion creature looks like, announced proudly. This is what power looks like. What does your planet have, human? What could possibly compare to this? Minyu said nothing. He just smiled his small, patient smile. Showed off his flame salamander next. It was a reptile the size of a large dog, covered in red and orange scales. When it opened its mouth, actual fire came out. The heat was so strong that students in the front row had to move back. My salamander has been in my family for 6 generations, said. It can burn through solid rock. Its fire cannot be put out by water. On my planet, these creatures are symbols of war and destruction. Other students shared their creatures too. Venomous snakes that could kill with a single bite. Crystal birds that sang songs so beautiful they could make you cry. Telepathic cats that could see into your memories. Each creature was more impressive than the last. And through it all, no one asked Minyu about his pet. Finally, the night before Pet Day arrived, Minyu received a message on his communication device. It was from the station's cargo department. Human Student Park Minyu, your companion creature has arrived. Please come to Cargo Bay 7 for pickup. Minyu stood up from his bed. His heart was beating fast again, but this time it was not from fear. It was from excitement. Finally, he whispered to himself. He walked quickly through the corridors of the station. When he reached the cargo bay, he found a small crowd had already gathered. Word had spread that the human's pet had arrived. Students wanted to see it. They wanted to laugh at it. Was there at the front of the crowd, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "Let us see what the mighty humans have brought," he called out mockingly. "Let us see this terrifying earth creature." The cargo workers opened the large doors of the bay. Inside, sitting in the middle of the room, was a reinforced crate. It was big, but not as big as the crates that held the scarn beetles or the flame salamanders. A warning label was attached to the side. It had only 3 words printed on it. "Friendly, do not run." The crowd went silent for a moment. Then the laughter started again. "Friendly," repeated. "The human brought a friendly creature. This will be even more pathetic than I expected." Minyu walked forward. He placed his hand on the crate and took a deep breath. "Open it," he said. The cargo workers pressed a button. The crate doors swung open. The crate doors opened and walked out slowly. His cream-white fur shone under the bright lights of the cargo bay. His amber eyes scanned the room, taking in every detail. His ears moved back and forth, catching every sound. His black nose twitched as he smelled the strange alien scents around him. For a moment no one moved. The crowd stared at the creature before them. It stood on 4 legs. It had fur covering its entire body. Its tail was curved upward. It had no claws that looked dangerous. No scales, no armor, no visible weapons of any kind. Then the laughter started. It began with, his mandibles clicked together in his harsh laugh, then joined in, his deep reptilian voice rumbling through the cargo bay. Soon the whole crowd was laughing. The sound echoed off the metal walls and ceiling. "This," walked forward, still laughing. "This is what the human brought, a fluffy 4-legged thing. It looks like something we would feed to our pets, not keep as one." More laughter. Students pointed at and made jokes. Some pretended to be scared in a mocking way, shaking their arms and making fake screaming sounds. Stood still. His eyes watched everything. His body was relaxed, but there was something alert in his posture, something patient, something waiting. Minyu walked over to his dog and knelt down beside him. His tail began to wag. The dog pressed his head against Minyu's chest, and Minyu wrapped his arms around him. For a moment, Minyu forgot about the crowd. He forgot about the laughter. He was just happy to see his friend again. "I missed you, boy," Minyu whispered into his fur. "I missed you so much." Made a soft whining sound and licked Minyu's face. His tail wagged faster. Stepped closer. He was done laughing now. His compound eyes studied the dog with contempt. "So this is the great earth creature," said loudly. "A furry thing that licks faces and wags its tail. Tell me, human, what does this creature do? Can it fight? Can it kill? What use is it?" Minyu stood up, stood beside him, pressing his body against Minyu's leg. "He is my companion," Minyu said simply. "Companion?" clicked his mandibles in disbelief. "A companion should be strong. A companion should protect you. A companion should strike fear into your enemies. This thing looks like it could not hurt a newborn larva." The crowd laughed again, but Minyu noticed that some students had stopped laughing. They were watching more carefully now. There was something about the dog that made them uneasy, though they could not explain why. "You judge by appearance," Minyu said. "That is your mistake." Mistake took another step forward. His voice was rising with anger. The human was not reacting the way he wanted. The human was not showing fear or shame. This made frustrated. "The only mistake was letting your primitive species into the Confederation. You have nothing to offer. Your planet is weak. Your people are weak. And your pet is the weakest thing I have ever seen. Reached out with one of his sharp limbs, pointing at its face. That was when everything changed. His body went rigid. His ears flattened against his head. His lips pulled back, revealing teeth that suddenly looked much larger and sharper than before. And from deep in his chest came a sound that none of the aliens had ever heard. It was a growl. But it was not just any growl. It was a low, rumbling sound that seemed to vibrate through the floor. It was a sound that carried thousands of years of history. It was the sound of a predator warning another predator to back away. Froze, his limbs stopped in midair. His compound eyes widened. For a moment he could not move. Something deep inside him, something ancient and instinctive, told him that he was in danger. The creature in front of him was not weak. It was not harmless. It was something else entirely. His amber eyes locked onto. They did not blink. They did not look away. They stared directly into this compound eyes with a focus so intense that actually took a step backward. The cargo bay went completely silent. No one was laughing now. He does not like it when people threaten me, Minyu said calmly. He placed his hand on his head and the growling stopped. The dog relaxed, but his eyes never left. I would not recommend doing that again. Tried to recover his composure. He clicked his mandibles and straightened his body. A growling sound, that is supposed to scare me. My scarn beetle could crush this creature in seconds. Maybe, Minyu said, but my dog would not be alone. Dogs do not fight alone. They fight in packs. And when a dog decides something is a threat to its family, it does not stop. It does not give up. It does not run away. It fights until it wins or until it dies. Lyra pushed through the crowd. She had been watching from the back, and now she hurried to stand beside Minyu. I read about Earth canines in the library, she said, her voice quiet but clear. They are descended from wolves. Wolves were apex predators on Earth. They hunted in groups and could bring down prey many times their size. Wolves, repeated, he looked at with new interest. Apex predators. Yes, Lyra continued. And humans did something that no other species in the known galaxy has ever done. They took these predators and formed a bond with them. Thousands of years ago, before they had technology, before they had cities, humans and dogs chose each other. Made a dismissive sound. Chose each other. What does that mean? We bond with our beetles through chemical control. They use dominance and fear. How could a soft, weak species like humans bond with predators? Minyu looked down at. The dog looked back up at him. In that moment, no words were needed between them. They understood each other perfectly. We did not control them, Minyu said. We did not force them. We invited them to our fires. We shared our food with them. We protected them when they were sick or hurt, and in return they protected us. They hunted with us. They kept us warm at night. They warned us of danger. They gave us their loyalty, not because they were afraid of us, but because they loved us. The word hung in the air. Love. It was such a simple word, but it seemed to confuse many of the aliens listening. Love, said the word like it was something strange and foreign. You controlled an apex predator through love. We did not control anything, Minyu said. We made friends. His tail wagged again. He leaned against Minyu's leg and made a happy sound. Stared at them for a long moment. His mandibles clicked slowly, but he said nothing. Something in his eyes had changed. The contempt was still there, but now there was also something else, something that might have been doubt. Finally turned and walked away. Followed him, but looked back over his shoulder at several times. The crowd began to break up. Some students left without saying anything. Others stayed and watched Minyu, and from a distance. The laughter was gone. In its place was an uncomfortable silence. Lyra smiled at Minyu. That was interesting. Minyu smiled back. This is just the beginning. Wait until they see what he can really do. He knelt down and rubbed behind the ears. The dog closed his eyes in happiness. his tail wagging steadily. "Good boy," Minyu whispered. "Good boy." Pet Day arrived with great excitement across the station. The grand exhibition hall had been prepared for the event. It was a massive room with high ceilings and bright lights. Viewing platforms surrounded the central floor where students would present their companion creatures. Hundreds of students and teachers filled the seats, talking and pointing as creatures of all kinds entered the hall. Minyu walked in with at his side. There was no leash. There was no chain. There was no cage. The dog simply walked beside his human, matching his pace perfectly. When Minyu stopped, stopped. When Minyu moved, moved. They moved together like two parts of the same body. This caught attention immediately. Every other creature in the hall was restrained in some way. The Skarn beetles were in energy cages. The flame salamanders wore special collars that could shock them if they misbehaved. The venomous snakes were in glass containers. Even the telepathic cats had leashes attached to their owners. But the Earth Dog walked free. Students whispered and pointed. Teachers frowned and checked their devices, looking for rules about unrestrained animals. But there was nothing in the regulations that required restraints. The rules only said that companion creatures must be under their owner's control. Was under control, he just did not need a leash to prove it. Was already at the center of the hall with his Skarn beetle. The massive insect creature stood beside him, its black shell shining and its pincers clicking together hungrily. It was even more terrifying in person than it had been in the videos. Its eyes were cold and empty. Its body was built for killing. "Welcome, students," the head teacher announced. Her name was Elder and she was a like Lyra. "Today we celebrate the ancient tradition of the companion bond. Each of you will present your creature and demonstrate the connection between your species and your bonded animal." The presentations began. One by one, students walked to the center of the hall and showed off their pets. The demonstrated how their beetles could crush metal and tear through armor. The showed how their salamanders could burn targets with precision. The made their birds perform beautiful aerial dances while singing songs that touched the hearts of everyone watching. When presented his Skarn beetle, the crowd cheered loudly. He commanded the beetle to destroy a series of targets. The creature obeyed with terrifying efficiency, smashing through everything in its path. At the end, stood proudly beside his beetle and raised his limbs in victory. "This is power," declared. "This is what a true companion can do. This creature fears me and obeys me. It knows I am its master. That is the natural order." The crowd applauded. Many students looked at Minyu with mocking smiles. How could a fluffy Earth dog compete with that? Then it was Minyu's turn. He walked to the center of the hall with beside him. The crowd went quiet. Many expected this to be the moment of greatest embarrassment. They expected the human to fail. They expected to laugh. Minyu stood in the center and looked around at all the watching faces. Then he knelt down beside and spoke quietly to the dog. No one could hear what he said, but his tail wagged and his ears perked up. "Many of you have wondered what makes Earth creatures special," Minyu said loudly, standing up again. "You have seen teeth and claws and fire. You have seen creatures that destroy and kill, but you have not seen what I am about to show you." He raised his hand and made a simple gesture, sat down immediately. Then Minyu pointed to the far side of the hall, ran across the floor at full speed, turned sharply, and came racing back. He stopped exactly at Minyu's feet and sat down again. The crowd was silent. That was fast. That was precise. And it happened without a single word being spoken. "Dogs understand human gestures," Minyu explained. "They learned to read our body language over thousands of years. A small movement of my hand, and he knows exactly what I want." He made another gesture, lay down, another gesture, rolled over, another gesture, stood up and walked in a perfect circle around Minyu before sitting again. Still silence, but now the silence was different. It was no longer the silence of contempt. It was the silence of interest. Elder, the zoology professor, stepped forward from the crowd. He held a scanning device in his hands and pointed it at. His large eyes went wide as he read the results. "This is remarkable," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "This creature's biology, it is perfectly designed for cooperation with humans. Their brain patterns show an ability to understand human emotions. Their social structures mirror human family groups. This is not a master and slave relationship. This is a partnership." "That is correct," Minyu said. "Dogs evolved alongside humans. We changed together. They developed the ability to understand us in ways that no other animal on Earth can match, and we developed the ability to understand them." To demonstrate, Minyu knelt down in front of. He looked into the dog's eyes without making any sound or gesture. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. Then's tail wagged. He made a soft barking sound and lifted his paw. Minyu took the paw in his hand and smiled. "He knows I am happy," Minyu said. "He can read my face. He can feel my emotions. He does not need telepathy like he does not need chemical signals like he just knows." A murmur went through the crowd. The students leaned forward with interest. Reading emotions was their specialty, but this creature did it naturally, without any psychic ability at all. "But surely this creature cannot protect you," called out from his position. He sounded less confident than before, but he was not ready to give up. "What good is understanding emotions if you cannot fight?" Minyu nodded. "A fair question. Dogs were not just our companions, they were our protectors." He looked at Elder. "Professor, may I have a volunteer to help with a demonstration?" Elder looked uncertain, but he nodded. A young student named volunteered. He was smaller than, with lighter scales and curious eyes. "Please approach me slowly," Minyu said to. "Act friendly." Walked toward Minyu with relaxed body language. Watched but remained calm. His tail even wagged a little. "Now," Minyu said, "approach me again. But this time act like you want to hurt me." Hesitated. Then he changed his posture. His shoulders went forward. His hands curled into fists. He moved toward Minyu with aggressive steps. His transformation was instant. His body went low to the ground. His fur stood up along his back. His lips pulled back to show his teeth, and that growl returned, deeper and louder than before. It was a sound of warning, a sound of threat, a sound that said clearly, "One more step and I will fight." Stopped immediately. Even though he knew it was just a demonstration, his body refused to move forward. Something ancient in his reptilian brain told him that this creature was dangerous. "Dogs can sense intent," Minyu explained while continued to guard him. "They know the difference between a friend and a threat. They do not need commands. They do not need orders. They protect their family because they want to, because they love." He placed his hand on its back. Immediately the dog relaxed. The growling stopped. The fur went flat. The tail started wagging again. "And because of this bond," Minyu continued, "humans did not need to evolve claws or fangs or armor. We had dogs. They were our eyes in the dark, our ears in the forest, our teeth when we needed to fight. We did not conquer them. We did not dominate them. We loved them and they loved us back." He looked around at the crowd. "That is what humans bring to the galaxy. Not weapons, not strength, but the ability to form bonds so deep that another species willingly chose to share our fate, forever." The grand exhibition hall was silent for a long moment. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, someone started to clap. It was Lyra. Her small blue hands made a soft sound, but it echoed in the quiet hall. Then Elder joined her. Then others. Soon the whole hall was applauding, not in mockery but in genuine amazement. Minyu looked down at. The dog looked up at him, tongue hanging out and tail wagging happily. The days after Pet Day were very different for Minyu. The cold stares and cruel whispers had stopped. Instead, students approached him with curiosity and respect. They wanted to know more about Earth dogs. They wanted to know more about humans. They wanted to understand how a species without natural weapons had become partners with apex predators. Minyu answered all their questions patiently. He explained how dogs could sniff out diseases in humans before any machine could detect them. He told them about dogs who guided blind people through busy streets. He shared stories of dogs who pulled children from frozen lakes and burning buildings. He described dogs who worked with soldiers and police, who found people buried under collapsed buildings, who comforted the sick and dying in hospitals. Each story amazed the alien students more than the last. "They do all this without payment?" a student asked, her silver eyes wide with wonder. "Without being forced?" "Yes," Minyu said. "They do it because of the bond. They do it because we are their family, and they will do anything for family." Had become a celebrity on the station. Students came from all over just to see him. At first, many were afraid to approach, but was patient and gentle with everyone. He let students touch his fur. He played simple games with them. He sat quietly while they scanned him with their devices and recorded his behavior. The younger students loved him most. Small children from a dozen different species came to pet him and play with him. Was always gentle with them, no matter how rough they were with him. When a little girl accidentally stepped on his paw, he just licked her face and wagged his tail. "He forgives so easily," the girl's mother said, amazed. "Our creatures would have bitten her." "Dogs understand that children are children," Minyu explained. "They protect the young ones of their pack. That is their nature." Elder invited Minyu to give a special lecture to the advanced zoology class. Minyu stood in front of the room with beside him and told the story of how dogs and humans had found each other. 40,000 years ago, humans were weak," he began. "We had no claws, no fangs, no armor. We were cold at night. We were slow during the day. Predators hunted us. We should have died." The students listened carefully. "But then we met the wolves. They were everything we were not: strong, fast, deadly. Their teeth could tear through flesh. Their noses could track prey for miles. Their ears could hear danger from far away. We should have been enemies. We should have been food." He paused and looked at. "But something different happened. We offered them food. We shared our fires. We gave them warmth and safety. And in return, they gave us their strength. They hunted with us. They guarded us while we slept. They kept our children safe. Over thousands of years, we grew together. We changed each other. They became dogs. We became more than we were." After the lecture, Elder approached Minyu privately. "I have studied hundreds of species across the galaxy," the professor said. "I have seen many forms of animal bonding, but I have never seen anything like what you have with this creature. The bond between humans and dogs is unique in the known universe." "Thank you, Professor," Minyu said. "I must ask you something." Elder's large eyes were serious. "How did your species know? How did early humans understand that wolves could become friends instead of enemies? What gave them the idea to try?" Minyu thought about this for a long moment. Then he smiled. "I do not think they knew," he said. "I think one day a hungry wolf came to a human camp looking for scraps, and instead of chasing it away, some human decided to throw it a piece of meat. Maybe they felt sorry for it. Maybe they were curious. Maybe they were lonely, but they took a chance. They reached out, and the wolf stayed." Elder nodded slowly. "A simple act of kindness." "That is how it starts," Minyu said. "That is how all good things start." Later that evening, Minyu was walking through the station gardens when he found sitting alone on a bench. There was staring at the artificial plants with an expression that was hard to read. Minyu almost walked past, but something made him stop. "May I sit?" he asked. Looked up. For a moment, Minyu thought he would say no, but then they made a small gesture, and Minyu sat down on the other end of the bench. Lay down at Minyu's feet, watching carefully but calmly. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally spoke. "I have been thinking about what you said, about love, about choosing each other." Minyu said nothing, he just listened. "My scarn beetle obeys me because I am stronger," continued. When I was young, I had to fight it for dominance. I had to break its will. I had to make it fear me. That is the way. That is how we bond with our creatures." He paused. "But your dog does not fear you. I can see that now. When it looks at you, there is no fear in its eyes. There is something else, something I do not understand." "It is trust," Minyu said quietly. "He knows I will never hurt him. He knows I will always protect him. And because of that, he would die for me without hesitation." Clicked his mandibles slowly. We believe that fear is the only reliable bond. A creature that fears you will always obey. A creature that loves you might leave." Minyu shook his head. "That is where you are wrong. Fear creates obedience, but it also creates hatred. A creature that fears you is waiting for you to become weak so it can escape or attack. But a creature that loves you will stay even when you are weak, even when you are sick, even when you are old and dying." He reached down and stroked his head. The dog's tail wagged happily. "Dogs have stayed with humans through everything, through wars and famines, through plagues and disasters. They never left us, not because they were afraid to leave, but because they did not want to leave. We are their family, and family stays together." Was quiet for a long time, then he stood up slowly. "Human," he said, "Minyu, I was wrong about you. I was wrong about your species. You are not weak. You are different, and different is not the same as weak." It was not quite an apology, but it was close. It was probably as close as they ever got. "Thank you," Minyu said simply. "Look down at." The dog looked back at him with calm amber eyes. "Your creature," said, "it is more dangerous than my beetle, not because of its teeth or its claws, but because it makes you stronger. It gives you courage. It makes you fight harder. A warrior who fights alone can be defeated, but a warrior who fights for family cannot be stopped." He clicked his mandibles one more time, then walked away into the garden. Minyu watched him go, then looked down at. "What do you think, boy? Did we make a new friend?" His tail wagged. The next morning, Minyu was eating breakfast when and Lyra both sat down at his table. This time, no one moved away. Instead, other students looked at them with interest. "I have been thinking," said, "about what you said, about bonds and family and love." And Minyu asked. "My family has raised flame salamanders for generations. We always thought fear was the only way, but now I wonder if we were wrong." The big looked uncertain, which was strange to see on such a powerful creature. "How do I start? How do I change?" Minyu smiled. "The same way it always starts, with a simple act of kindness. Tonight, instead of commanding your salamander, try sitting with it. Try feeding it by hand. Try speaking to it gently. Do not expect anything in return. Just give without asking for anything back." Nodded slowly. "I will try." Lyra smiled at Minyu. "You are changing things here. People are talking about humans differently now. They are saying that Earth has something special, something no other planet has." Minyu looked around the food hall. He saw students of many species sitting together, talking and laughing. He saw young children playing near the windows. He saw a future where humans and aliens might learn from each other. "Humans are not perfect," he said. "We have made many mistakes, but we learned something important long ago when we sat around our first fires with wolves at our feet. We learned that we do not have to face the darkness alone. We learned that friendship can turn enemies into family. We learned that love is stronger than fear." Put his head on Minyu's knee and looked up at him with those faithful amber eyes. Minyu scratched behind his ears and smiled. "That is what we bring to the galaxy," he said. "Not weapons, not strength, just this. The knowledge that together we can be more than we are alone. Humans and dogs proved that 40,000 years ago. Now it is time to prove it again." Outside the window, the stars stretched across the infinite darkness of space. Somewhere out there was Earth, the small blue planet where a hungry wolf once walked into a human camp and changed everything. And here on Station Orion 7, A boy and his dog sat together, surrounded by aliens who were learning what humans had always known. Family is not just about blood. Family is about choice. And when you choose to love someone, you become something stronger than either of you could ever be alone. Wagged his tail. Some things need no translation. Good boy, Minu whispered. Very good boy. Tomorrow was pet day, and tomorrow everything would change. And stepped out into the light. Minu shook his head. No, they really do not.